Welcome to the Daily Items Winter Sports Podcast, a weekly look at what's happening with the Susquehanna Valley's high school and college teams. From Bucknell and Susquehanna University men's and women's basketball to all the high school hoops, wrestling, swimming, and more, the Daily Items Sports Team has the latest on the players, coaches, and teams to watch. Now, here's your host, Daily Items Sports Editor, Kurt Ritzman.
All right, hello and welcome to our Winter Sports Podcast. I'm Kurt, and I'm happy to be joined by Todd Hummel to start off with some basketball talk.
Boys?
Boys.
It was a joke.
Yes.
I know it's boys.
And you want to break down Danny Ray Reno and the Mount Carmel girls? I mean,
I hear she's good.
we'll get more into that when Scott joins me later. So what's jumped out to you from this last week in boys basketball?
Oh, well, I guess we'll start with Friday. Was over at Schick and did Shikellamy and Selinsgrove. The return of Lucas Tilford, who missed most of the football season with an injury and then had a hard time getting healthy for basketball season. And he was such a difference maker for them against Shikellamy, and I talked to him a little bit about that and just getting back on the basketball court.
How frustrating has this been for you for these last couple of weeks?
It's been killing me. I just want to do everything I can to come back and play and give the team energy.
When did you guys decide you were going to play tonight?
Well, today.
Today?
Yeah, because it was my first practice on Wednesday. So.
What was it like finally getting on when you first checked into the game?
It felt just relieving, and just to be back was amazing.
Did you guys feel like this could be a turning point for your season?
For sure, I think we definitely turned things around. We got the full squad. We feel like we're healthy. We're all having fun now. I think it's definitely going to change it.
So when the Braves, with Lucas back on the court, it kind of gives. He didn't start. I don't think it didn't look like he started against Montoursville on Monday. The game when they lost on Monday to Montoursville, but he's coming off the bench, and it gives them just kind of a different quickness level on the floor, and it kind of opened things up for some of for Schick shooters and inside for Darrell Lyles, who had a big game against Selinsgrove, and it's obviously they scored. 5 days ago, I know, like 83 points in that game, and it was the best they played. I was a little surprised that the game Monday was so one-sided, but it didn't look like the Braves shot that well. But again, Lucas opens things up, and you saw how I think Darrell had 26 or 24 and 15, and really hurt a Selinsgrove team that's not small inside, has three guys that are 6'5".
Wow. But
they had a real hard time controlling Darrell, and I talked to him a little bit about his game and a little bit about the atmosphere at Phil Lockoff Gymnasium on Friday night.
Is this kind of what you guys envisioned at the beginning of the season? If you guys feel you were healthy, kind of playing like this tonight?
Yeah, I did. Well, Lucas for the season, it's been kind of hard at the guards, but when he came back, we turned it around, scored. Yeah.
Do you guys kind of feel like this can turn your season around? A game like this and getting Lucas back and being fully healthy?
Yes, it definitely can. Yeah.
What was this like tonight? Just the student section being out. Probably the first big game either of these teams had. What was it like to play in this atmosphere tonight?
Honestly, it's probably the best feeling ever. Out of freshman, sophomore, junior year, the best one I ever had. Coming to win by 40 points, and having Lucas back. Student section is big feeling ever.
So if Lucas can get back in the rotation, how much of a difference does that make for the Braves down the stretch?
Well, I think it makes them pretty dangerous. I think it looks like I finally did look up to find the District 11 stuff, and one of their rules is 500 for the playoffs. So that definitely means neither Schick nor Selinsgrove are obviously getting in Class 5A. But Schick still has some big games in Division I that they could play spoiler in. And I think I think they would like to see, nobody wants to go through a one-win season, and that,
Sure.
And I think they are good enough to rebound and give some teams some problems in the second half of the season if they remain healthy.
Now, and then Monday you went to what seemed like a nice matchup. Danville kind of made it turn into a less nice matchup by the end of the game, though.
Yeah, Danville played Southern on Monday, and Danville's playing so well right now. But they were 3-2 to start the season and haven't lost since then. I'm having a hard time. Shamokin can shoot the ball so well, and you can't count out Shamokin. When they play later in the season. But I'm having a hard time if Danville plays this way the rest of the year, the rest of the regular season, seeing anybody being able to to beat them. Now I say that in the high school kids, but they're so deep, and Mavin James scored 14 points in that game and had 4 3-pointers, and that gives them a 4-scorer where if you I ran the scoring leaders in I guess people could be watching this in other days. I was going to say in Wednesday's paper. I was going to say in today's paper, and you'll notice that teams are doing it different ways. Mount Carmel's 11-1, and they have 3 guys. 17. Mike Bolichuk 17.1. Tommy Riesinger 17.2, and then Donovan's at 18 points a game.
Wow.
And then there's Danville. It doesn't have anybody in the scoring leaders, but it has all 5 of their 4 of their 5 starters averaging between 9 and 13 points. So there's different ways to do it. And the big thing for Danville in that game was their defense, and they played a zone against a Southern team that's really going to try and attack you inside with Julian Fleming, and then try and shoot in the outside with Damian Ayers and Tobias Walden. And they did a good job keeping Julian off the glass. I talked to Dyson Harward, who had 16 rebounds in that game, what it's kind of like, what they did defensively in that zone, and trying to keep Mr. Fleming off the boards.
Well, we know they're a good driving team, and they like to kick. So basically, I just wanted to help defense. I know I'm tall, and I know I can contest shots and alter shots. So just have my guys forcing inside and me just alter shots.
How important in a game like this, playing a zone is your rebounding, especially guys can get spread out in the zone, and what's that like for you in a zone?
I feel like all of our big men do a great job rebounding in our zone, and having Mavin in there and calling when he subs in, it makes it easier for me. So zone offense for us as a team, or zone defense us as a team, rebounding is key.
When you're playing somebody like Julian, who's really aggressive on the offensive glass, what do you try and do to kind of pay, I guess for lack of a better way to put it, pay more attention to him when the ball goes in the air?
Well, so we know he can jump out of the gym, right?
Yeah.
So all week leading up to this, we're just like, we got to get a body on him. And that's what we try to do tonight is as soon as the shot goes up, we don't look at the ball, we look at Julian, find it, and then we go.
So you mentioned Mount Carmel rolling along at 11-1. What have the Red Tornadoes done so well other than having 3 really good scores?
I talked to Coach Lazicki before Christmas, the first Southern game, and there's a big doubleheader out at Southern Columbia on Saturday night too. Mount Carmel girls and Southern and play at 6, and the boys play at 7:30.
Weather depending,
obviously. And that's odd because district football title game, Mount Carmel, Southern Columbia snow. But anyway, I got sidetracked now.
Big doubleheader.
Mount Carmel. That was the big thing Coach Lazicki said, is that it gives them a third scoring option, and it's kind of that was what they needed last year. They've only really lost to Cedar Crest, a 5A school in the Christmas tournament, and haven't really been challenged around here yet. That's I keep thinking now the Heartland tournament in February between Mount Carmel, Loyal Sock, and Danville, and whoever that 4th team is should be pretty fun to figure out who the overall HAC champion is going to be.
See, this is why I like basketball better than football in some ways. I sat here for 12 weeks and said, I want to see Mount Carmel Danville. I want to see Mount Carmel Danville. In basketball, I'm going to get that chance, hopefully.
Maybe.
I mean, there could be upsets in the HAC tournament. Who knows? But hopefully I'll get that. Anything else really jump out to you or coming up other than that Mount Carmel Southern?
Maybe TVL, Millersburg Greenwood play this week.
Okay.
Both have 10 wins. Or Greenwood has only 1 loss in the league. Millersburg has 10 wins. Had a little trouble with Halifax last night, who's the best team in the league, but that interests me a little bit. I got to see Millersburg last week, and they shot the lights out of the ball against East Juniata, and that's been their big thing. Connor Zinnerman's up over 17 points, leads the area in 3-pointers. They spread it around a little bit, have a real good guard. It's be interesting to see what happens in Class 2A. They're the number 2 seed in District 3.
Behind Antietam, wherever that is.
Down near Gettysburg, shockingly enough, and they're undefeated. So that's going to be an interesting late season for Millersburg.
Okay, we're gonna take a quick look at some college basketball now. Before we get into that, quick college football note. In Tuesday's paper, we had a story. Joe Susan stepped down as the Bucknell football coach, and they're starting a nationwide search. So that's something to keep an eye on going forward. That same night as that news was breaking, Nate Sestina was shooting lights out, even better than Millersburg when Todd saw him. He was Sestina on Monday night, a win over Holy Cross, 11 for 11, 32 points. Bison won by 15, became the first Patriot League men's team to 4 wins.
Yeah, and it's the first game that they started out at Soika where they didn't get fall behind in the first half, wasn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
I think that was the most impressive part of that, I think, probably to Coach Davis at that point. It seems it's so strange to me, especially with some of those that experience that they have at that they have back at Bucknell that they keep struggling in the first half and having to make these comebacks, and it pays off to have that experience because they also pull off these comebacks for the most part, except for maybe was that last week at home that didn't go very well. In the
last
second
week
half.
on the road,
yeah,
but it was their 5th Patriot League game, the first one that they weren't behind by double digits in the first half. And 2 completely different games, the one I saw Saturday and the one Mike saw Monday. My game, down early, defensive struggle. They hold off American at the end, win 55-54. 2 days later, Mike watches them score 93 in a win over Holy Cross.
Well, your game was a Pat Flannery special. Man.
Yes.
That's how Bucknell used to play when Coach Flannery was there, getting your face and grind teams down. And I prefer the way they play under Dave and Nate with a little more scoring. But Coach Flannery was certainly successful there for many years, and I think that's probably the key right now is what kind of defense that they can put together at this last half of the season and kind of. Some of these teams that they fell behind and came back to beat. It's going to be interesting to see how these matchups go in the second half of the season.
Sure. One other thing to mention, Kimball McKenzie went over 1,000 career points on Monday night, 43rd player in Bucknell history.
Wow.
So he's within 1 point of 42, I think, so he can climb up the scoring ranks a little bit. Bucknell women have a home game Wednesday night against Lehigh. Make sure to pick up Thursday's Daily Item and read about that. Mike Bullock's going out there. They just keep rolling other than one hiccup, 12-4 overall, 3-1 in the league. 9-point win at Lafayette on Saturday behind 20 points from Caitlin Slagus. So, yeah, Bucknell women keep rolling, looking for that number 1 seed again.
I wonder. I don't know if I wonder if Coach Roussel would say if they've played their best basketball of the season. For a while it was the young kids shooting the ball real well, and he said the Caitlin had a big game last week. I don't see that I have seen that they have had a game where they've shot the ball well from outside and gotten kind of that inside play, and that's kind of scary for a team that's 12-4 and has been playing as well as that Bucknell team has.
Yeah, that's one thing that every year I've been here, this is my 3rd year covering Bucknell women, they've been better in February, March than they were in November, and that's a credit to Coach Roussel and the players.
Yeah.
Going same side of the river, but closer to where we're sitting now. Susquehanna men, another win on Saturday. They are 10-5, 3-1 in Landmark Conference play, and another big game from Dominic Dunn, 22 points. I've been so impressed with him this year.
Yeah, my one of my best friends likes to go to Susquehanna games, and that's the one thing he has said to me is that this freshman kid off the bench has been playing real well for them, and I really think that I almost made the fatal mistake and called them the wrong nickname. The Riverhawks, I really think learned from last year. That was an uncharacteristic year they struggled last year. It's an uncharacteristic year for Coach Marcinick, and I think they really learned some things from last year, and they've played really well. That Wilkes team that they beat during the week last year beat them earlier this season, and they did a real good job with them. And it's going to big road trip, long road trip Saturday. I think both teams the men and women head to Catholic, and that's probably the worst road trip in the league down to Washington D.C. And because Catholic's always really pretty good, so it's going to be interesting how they handle this tough road game this weekend.
Sure. And then Susquehanna women, we talked about throughout the early portion of these winter sports podcasts, were struggling, had a 7-game losing streak, but once they've gotten into Landmark play, been better. 2-2 in Landmark Conference. Tough overtime loss to Elizabethtown on Saturday, but Erin McQuillan scored 20 points. I think they had 4 women in double digits. I think that that Coach Reed is starting to get, some of that consistency that he kept talking about during their struggles earlier in the year.
Yeah, and, that's kind of what non-league is for, is kind of figure that stuff out. And we talked early in the season about this team that he was really, five girls were playing one game, and then it'd be different five playing a lot of the minutes. And I think he's settled on a rotation, and they've played much better since they've come back from Christmas break.
Yeah, I think you're right. So that's our look at college basketball. I'm going to say goodbye to Todd and maybe welcome in Scott to talk a little girls basketball next. Okay, now I'm happy to welcome in Chris Nagy to talk a little wrestling. I want to start by looking ahead. People hopefully are watching this Thursday morning. So Thursday night, there's a couple of real juicy duels, Midwest at Danville and Shikellamy Selinsgrove.
And also Montoursville at Lewisburg.
Oh.
So that's three really big ones. Montoursville, Lewisburg. Whoever wins that one is automatically clinched into the district duels.
Okay.
Danville, with a win over Midwest, clinches almost guarantees themselves of the second seed. And with the way the field, and we're going to get to the field in a moment, with the way the field is, they're going to have to face somebody who has to wrestle Monday, on Wednesday. So
that's you think there's going to be more than 16 teams in?
I'm calling 19 teams, which will be the biggest field that District 4 has ever had in the team duels.
Wow.
It would be 20, but from everything I've been hearing out of Midwest will be opting out. It would have been the day we're taping, Wednesday. They have to opt out by Wednesday. From everything I'm hearing from Midwest, they are going to opt out, and instead of trying to qualify to wrestle at Milton, they're going to wrestle in the Conestoga Valley duels that weekend. So it's not like they're losing, but we've talked about this and everything else, and that I think Midwest is a definite top 3 team in the district. It's a shame they're not going to go, but this is a coaching and a kid's decision, and you got to respect that.
Yeah,
not really. But because I would love to see what Midwest could do.
Sure.
I think we all do. I think wrestling fans are. I think the rumble in the valley, or whatever, the river, the cross river, whatever you want to call it, is going to be probably, out of the 3 that we mentioned, is probably going to be the closest.
Okay. And
it's probably going to be the best one as a spectator, because I think you're going to have a lot of lead changes. You're going to have a lot of, because I don't think there's one group and one cluster of weights that either team can manage. And I think there's at least 6 toss-ups in Selinsgrove Schick. Looking at Midwest Danville, that will be the match of the night. That would be, if you're trying to decide which one to go to, I would head to Danville and watch it. It's going to be very entertaining. We'll see exactly what Danville is made of. I think we've been waiting for this test for Danville. We'll see exactly what they're made out of. Last week, Midwest was taken to the last 2 matches by Mifflinburg. So we'll see where Danville pinned their way through Mifflinburg. So we'll see what happens there, but it's pretty entertaining to see how that's all going to turn out in that.
Yeah, I think as a wrestling fan, Thursday night's a night you can really look forward to. I'm doing the wrestling roundup from Tuesday night duels, and I got a lot of 69-6s with 8 forfeits. The only close match Tuesday was Muncie Line Mountain, and Muncie went down and beat the Eagles. But a lot of these matches are, I don't know if it's just some teams don't have the numbers, or if there's just a clear talent divide between schools in the HAC.
Montgomery wrestled a match with 3 matches.
Wow!
On Tuesday night, with 3. Double forfeits, 3 no matches. I mean, we see this, and it's normal. All the old timers will tell you it's normal, but we're seeing this too much close. Instead of having these long, we're now seeing these.
Okay.
And we're seeing the lines getting closer between the peaks and the valleys, and that has me concerned. It's been tossed about here that maybe merging some programs, but wrestling's kind of like football. It's like you mentioned merging Shamokin Mount Carmel football, there'd be riots.
Sure.
And in some of these communities, it'd be the same thing if, like, all of a sudden we decided we're going to merge Shikellamy and Selinsgrove Wrestling. Oh, the uproar would be amazing. I'd like to be sitting on Market Street selling the torches because my kid wouldn't have to pay for college.
Now, I want to get into your thoughts on district duels, which you mentioned on Monday and Wednesday. But first, Gavin Garcia made his season debut Tuesday night. First period pin at 145, and the Tigers win. We talked last week that he had been cleared. So I guess just what does that, not a lot, but that a minute 40 or whatever it was of mat time do for him heading into
It gets him his legs.
Okay.
And that's the key. I expect to see Cade Lynn either tomorrow night or Thursday night or Tuesday. I expect to see Cade Lynn getting out there and getting ready to go because he's medically clear too. It just gets these guys into all you've been doing is wrestling. In Gavin's case, she's been wrestling somebody in the room. Cade, same thing with Cade. Now they're wrestling somebody that they're not familiar with.
Okay.
And that's the key.
Okay, so district duels, if we get 19, having a couple matches Monday, and then the big event Wednesday starts Wednesday.
It starts Wednesday, and then of course that Saturday, first Saturday in February, as always, is the Rumble up at Milton. You got 8 teams there. Full day of wrestling. It's always a fun environment to be in. So that's something to really kind of look forward to and everything else. Southern right now is locked into number 1 seed.
Okay.
But teams to kind of look for that have not clinched. Mount Carmel needs one more win to clinch. Montoursville, Lewisburg, we talked about. Warrior Run kept their hopes alive on Tuesday with the win over Milton. They need 2 more wins to qualify. And you can't think, I'm sorry about the glasses, I do that occasionally, but you cannot imagine a tournament, even if it's 20 teams, not having Warrior Run in it. So that's a team to watch out for. Out of the other ones, like I said, Midwest not coming in right now. They are the 5th seed and have qualified, but like I said, that's up in the air. Mifflinburg is already in. So a lot in the Valley. Lime Mountain is in, so it's going to be a great tournament. I will not be with you next week. I will be on assignment covering wrestling in the Caribbean. We'll be back, and we'll be filming this on the day of one of the biggest wrestling days in District 4. So I look forward to talking to you about that. And as always, thank you for the time.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks for watching, and some of us at least will be back next week, so make sure you tune in and make sure you pick up the Daily Item. Just pick it up every day between now and next podcast, and just keep doing that. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think that's good too.
Thanks for watching.